order. Carlo is going to be a little late, so he asked me to start the meeting. The agenda, so we didn't erase our.
I'm at the select meeting reading it off there, the rec committee, and they're like, is that what you? What do they have to say? Well, when we get there. Okay, that's all right.
We'll, I guess, jump right into the agenda. The first thing is continue the discussion of that. I don't know whether we can, if we can erase that, because someone say it's in.
Yeah, it's in our. So before you do that, I had an idea, because we were gonna be talking about it, but go ahead, I don't want to interrupt.
Oh,
No, not real there. So I think that we need to prioritize, rank, put in order of importance, something like this, because right now this is just ideas that people threw out. And I was thinking of, in those brainstorming meetings where everybody throws up the ideas and then everybody gets 5 stickers and you put the sticker on your favorite thing. Well, it's just a way, unless somebody has another idea. So if there are like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, we could all get whatever, 6, 8 stickers or numbers. And just so that somebody doesn't put all 6 on one, we could say you can't put any more than 2 stickers on any one idea, and that's how it goes. And then we see how many get.
And those all get incorporated into the RFI.
Well, they all get in. It's
More than the RFI.
It is. It's for our way to
Right.
evaluate, because we need to have some sort of criteria, and these are just ideas that we threw out there. There could be an idea that I threw out that nobody agrees with. There could be an idea that somebody else threw out that we all think is the best, highest priority. But it's just sort of a way to see what kind of rises to the top. Now, it's just an idea I had to do that. If somebody else, if you all think that it's a good idea to actually sort of try to find out what's more important and what's less important, if you have a different way of doing it, I'm open to that. But it's just a way that I've seen other, other.
I think it's a good idea. Probably do it after if there's anything else we want to
Add to it and then do it.
I just have one suggestion. I discussed it.
Why don't we erase that since we have it?
Okay,
I can write it down. Yeah, we have it in the packet.
all right.
I'll erase it.
I'll just instead of multi-generational use, they, at the Council on Aging, they talked about intergenerational use. So,
What is the difference? I did hear that there was a discussion or an explanation, but I didn't catch it. What's the difference?
so multi-generational things can be happening simultaneously, like different generations can be, that the center could be different generations. That doesn't necessarily mean that the activities include all generations simultaneously. For example, the high school students have a new club called the Bridging Differences, the Bridging Generations Club. And I went to their first activity. It was a game night. And so they came to the Pleasant Street Center, high school students with 60 plus residents. And that was an intergenerational activity.
So inter means together.
Yeah.
Multi just means
People can do.
people can do, but they're doing things.
Their own thing.
And what do the seniors want? Because does everyone want intergenerational or?
Well, it's another thing to consider, yes, that yeah, we don't want to be exclusive. We want to, like we can offer multi and intergenerational activities.
Okay.
We're trying to change the name because we understand that senior citizens have a stigma attached to it. So it's like, what do you call us? The 60 plus.
So is that what it is, 60 plus?
60 plus.
Okay.
So this
But,
is
you know,
already,
60 the new 40, I mean.
Yeah, come on, yeah, really.
so that's already on the list, right? Multi-gen. would
Well, they're
that
talking
be
about
multi-gen,
multi
right?
and
multi and intergenerational. Yeah, I could see that together. So, so I like the idea of the stickers, but to make it faster, do we want to just talk about each of our main first choices on here, or does it not? I mean, I don't know.
So what I thought while that was still up, we could just number them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and everybody could just write down on a piece of paper, 1, 5, 7, 3, 3. Right? That's what I'm saying.
Jackie, can you put that back up, please?
Look at like,
So I just thought, if we, oh, there they are.
Yeah.
So
they've got a number next to them.
they do, and they have, right, they do, so,
We're comfortable not adding anything
no, we
else.
can add to it. If anybody else has anything else they want to add, I'm totally,
I was thinking we could try to take like a potential project, say. And then just kind of score it for each one that we currently have, and kind of think through, can some of them be combined? Can we, does it work? Is there something we're missing? Because I think they're all important. And you know, when I get my grades for my kids, there's 35 criteria. I don't think the more criteria is really an issue. It's more how we use it.
right.
Um,
Okay,
So I'm just generally looking at it, there's nothing clearly to me that I would want to get rid of.
there are some contradictory things though. Like generate revenue, break even, and minimal taxpayer expense. They're similar or
Related.
they're related, they're financial, so I don't know.
You can almost combine, like you could say,
Financial.
generate revenue that breaks even. We're not looking, I don't think.
Make
we're looking at make profit.
No, but are we looking to generate revenue? And
Well, we don't want it to be a white elephant either, you know, you want it to.
You don't want it to cost.
I mean, this is a really important discussion, right? I was thinking the same thing, generate revenue could mean generate revenue so that it's an income generator for the town. Or it could mean generate revenue so that the overall facility isn't the white elephant, it's an albatross, doesn't cost the town money.
Yeah,
It's like at the schools, we have the extended day program, and they're not to make money, but it's supposed to be self-sustaining.
like recreation.
Yeah.
Right? That they get the money and they're supposed to, the programs are supposed to. But I do think that that's a discussion that we have to have. I mean, is it something that, is this land to generate revenue or is breaking even? If it's a town department, if it's an extension of recreation committee, it really can't generate money. It can only sustain itself. So
Does the Burbank Arena, I'm just,
That's a set, we talked
does
about
that make
this
money or
last
does
time.
that
Oh, yeah, for
for the town?
well,
not for the town, no, they give us
Well, that's the question.
right,
uh,
right. So
It's a nonprofit,
it's a nonprofit.
so the money
They
it
do
makes,
not pay taxes, and last year, they pay excess of what, they pay excess, like, after they pay their staff and after they have put away, they have to put away certain funds, excess goes to the town, but they completely determine what that is.
Right.
And they don't pay taxes, we own the land. So last
they
year,
lease
they-
it from us. So
Well,
they make a lease payment.
the lease payment for them is actually, there is no set lease payment, it's only what they make. So they determine what they will pay in lease. So last year it was $16,000. So that is what the town got. Now, I think in the beginning, it was generating more money. And it's not just since COVID, but if as their expenses might go up, what they return back to the town. So does it generate revenue? I mean, if,
I guess the question would be, what would, if that were a business and they were paying taxes, what would their tax
rate be?
Right.
Right.
here? And that would be the revenue the town would expect.
Right.
The property if it had been a private situation.
So do we want to clarify that one to be generate revenue for the town?
For the town, maybe, yeah, do we, and it's just a criteria,
Or
and maybe it's at the bottom of the list.
yeah, exactly.
Or you
Yeah,
could have both criteria under that category. One would be generate revenue for the town and one would be generate revenue to break even.
Yeah, or
Right, in our discussion,
long-term
Right.
success.
we might say, okay, yeah, it's a high priority for it to break even and generating additional revenue for the town.
A
Maybe
lower, yeah.
There could be a situation where we need an initial tax or a payer expense, but in the long term, it'll generate revenue for the town. I don't know what situation it could be.
I don't know, well, if it's a
But there-
private partnership like Burbank, the town may enjoy revenue that was in lieu of taxes, in other words, for what they would have gotten for that property if they'd outright sold it
Yeah.
on an annual basis. Because you wanna, or it's a lease situation where they're making enough money to pay for the taxes. I mean, I don't know, I'm just guessing, but
Can I just ask, so those two really only apply if there is a response to our RFI, right?
not necessarily, because the generate revenue for the town are not, I mean, break even. So there's an expense associated with, say, a dog park. Somebody's gotta maintain it, clean it. you know, mow
So
the
how do you
lawn.
generate revenue?
You have a membership. So there are a lot of towns that in order to use the dog park, you need to have some kind of a membership
Oh, really?
or sticker or something along those lines to use it, to demonstrate that you've paid the membership fee, which goes towards
And then that-
recreation to help maintain it or whatever it might be.
but then I do think, you know, sort of tagging along with what you're saying, I think that there are projects that could be hugely expensive. And then there are projects that, you know, might not be as expensive, because I know somebody was at the select board meeting last week, a resident wanting to get a dog park in town, and he was talking about what the Stanton Foundation, where towns can get $250,000 to build a dog park.
Right.
Well, if we could get, you know, maybe dog park isn't highest on the list, but if we could get $250,000 to build one and we have a little piece of awkward land in the corner,
Why not?
All right,
Does the town bars?
next door. You know, why wouldn't you do that? So I think that like, there will be a lot of ways to sort of decide financial considerations, right? You know, is it something that we could get a grant for? You know,
yeah, I was just gonna say, we could vet all grant opportunities associated with.
Well, maybe that's a criteria.
Yeah.
Rather than,
But the way I see it too is we're recommending a variety of uses to the select board. And so we could say we would, you know, we're recommending this particular option if there are grants available. Like one of the things is we could recommend you know, we don't know what's going to be the result of the feasibility study. And the feasibility study might in fact determine that Symonds Way is the best option in terms of a multi-use facility, intergenerational, 60-plus facility. So when we make our recommendations, there will be some caveats along with it as well,
Oh, you
that
mean,
we don't have the information for,
you mean the feasibility study for
For the-
the
Yeah.
intergenerational facility?
if it's going to be, yeah.
Okay, all right,
Yeah.
all right. I was getting.
The ARPA fund, there's ARPA funding for,
Is it $40,000?
oh, 300,000 less what was spent on Walgreens. And that was ARPA funding that's been earmarked for the feasibility study.
Yeah, there was something mentioned last night, something, I must remember something.
it's also unclear to me because it's an exploratory committee.
Yeah.
But it's also what we have as an exploratory committee. It's also kind of unclear whether we would be recommending, like, we think a dog park and pickleball courts are good, or whether or not we go through and have the town, the engineer redo, once we determine what the uses are, how can you put this on the lid? So we would be presenting to the select board a whole package, right? Like,
I would want to go that far because.
you would, okay,
Yeah, because I think if we're gonna recommend that this best use for this land,
then we
we need to
want-
make sure it fits.
we want to make sure it fits. Okay, so the first step would sort of be thinking about the individual components and then how do we put it together?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think that caveat with feasibility statement, there's also, I guess, if they form the dog park committee, I mean, there's some competing interests out there that are not being funneled through this committee. And
Right.
I'm a little concerned about this, especially the dog park committee. It'd be really good to.
Is there a dog park?
No, not yet.
About it. I
They're
don't know
talking about it.
what, but they're talking
Because
about it.
that points to
Number
13,
13,
Yeah.
coordinating with other
Other
town
town
projects.
and just add to that town projects and committee.
And last night at the recreation committee, we learned that Jenna Fiorente and Jim, what was his last name?
Sullivan.
Jim Sullivan, the new rec administrator, are working on a grant with Ben Kickers, I think, for $500,000 for the phase 2 of Birch Meadow. But one of the things that they have done, because they want to get the money, they want to be approved for it, is they have removed the pickleball courts because they're afraid that there'll be too much opposition to them. And so the pickleball courts that were supposed to go at Birch Meadow have been scrapped because they're too close to
And they're
the neighbors. And part of the grant application is to have public support. And so they're afraid that if they actually put the pickleball courts there, it could tank the application. So there were supposed to be pickleball courts in phase 2 and they're gone. So one of the discussions last night at the rec committee was like, okay, now we're done, but
So, and maybe that coordination with other town properties and committee, projects and committees means that it's a higher priority for this property if we determine the best place for it.
Yeah.
I mean, I could see that happen pretty easily because it is.
Yeah, I
it's
think-
scrapped somewhere else.
phase 2 is that section that where the
Yeah.
Little League Park is and the tennis courts, right? And so
Yeah.
the pickleball courts, we're gonna go down in that right-hand
next to it.
corner next to that neighborhood. And I don't think, Mike was pretty quiet last night. I don't think they ever thought those were gonna go in there anyway, just because of the,
I think they are there though, aren't there? Are there pickleball courts there?
well, they're not,
They're not.
official.
they're not official.
Yeah. I think too, like 2 or 3 years ago, when this was being done, or even longer, there was not that outrage over the
No,
pickleball
nobody knew
courts.
about them.
Nobody knew about it, right? So there wasn't the outrage over pickleball.
Wasn't much publicity about
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
I think the reality is we have competing interests.
Yes.
And so we're talking about coordinating, but we also, there is competing interest, especially now, we are trying to stay on top of what other town projects are, other committees. And it's hard to really negotiate everything.
Right.
And so, I mean, we don't have all the information, and I do believe the feasibility study really is a very missing piece of this. And that's not anticipated for quite some time.
Right.
So,
For environmental aspects.
yeah, I mean, yes, I'm anticipating, but I don't know, is the feasibility study going to evaluate the land? I mean, what the environmental, impact, what's,
Oh, before they decide that's the best place for the
Yeah.
seniors, yeah.
because we
Probably not.
can't determine
When did
if the
they
land.
say that's gonna be?
He-
It's like
I
18
think,
months or something?
I think he made it sound like in the fall it would start, but I don't know how long it'll
But typically, the feasibility would include, what, a feasibility report, as far as I understand it, is gonna consider what the program should be for this facility, the general program, the amount of space it generally will take
But want to also evaluate
and place and where it might land.
land itself.
Yeah,
Like, is
but
it,
not to the detail you're talking about. I think they'll say, is that in a good location for it? I'm not sure they'll go all the way through doing engineering on each of the properties that they're considering putting
Right.
the space on. It's really just whether it's big enough, it's in the right location, it fits the needs of what we're
there's
looking for in
a
it.
$250,000.
So with
Right, for
the,
the feasibility study?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that, it
I
would take
mean-
all of that.
So
isn't the senior center train way out of the station to now be talking about a feasibility?
I don't think they've ever really
I
done a
mean,
feasibility study.
No,
It's
I
always
know,
been-
but why would they have waited before they talked about trees,
Yes.
Next door.
Oh, thank you.
and all this other stuff, and now we're talking about, I mean, wouldn't we have done a feasibility study before we
The money, I think, really was it. I think what came to head was a place, right? They had a place,
Well, they-
Walgreens. Right. They started with the place before they started with the
And they're well place, so kind of back to
square one to develop the program and figure out where the best place is for it. That's really how it should have started.
Well, and Walgreens suddenly became available
Yes.
last summer. So, I mean, that started back in August.
Yeah.
And will the feasibility study also look at the current building?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that they're
and
looking.
why we're, just
Right.
summarily dismissing that as.
I think it's cost, but yeah, it might be that.
That's
Yeah,
what
right.
I'm being led to believe is that it'll look at Symonds Way, Oakland Road, and Pleasant Street.
Because those are really the only three spaces that,
Like Oakland Road, the land, you mean?
that ready.
Hasn't that, like, hasn't Oakland Road been eliminated for so many projects?
It
Like,
has, and it may be eliminated again because it's got a big hill on it and it's all granite.
but if
Unless it's blasting. and-
yeah, so then why would it not be?
Cost-wise, so it might be more feasible there, this is where the feasibility, than it would be with all of the site prep versus having to take down the fire station or renovate at the, yeah, you can have the fire station, but the senior center currently. I mean, honestly.
But it's in
we're-
a building,
Exactly. And that's what I'm saying, can you fit all of the program in that historic building without taking it apart
Well, or it's the.
or expanding?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's what.
I mean, I've been always told over the last few years that the reason why we were looking elsewhere from there was because of the cost.
Yeah, it's huge.
But
But
a
there
new
isn't,
building is gonna cost, a lot more than fixing a bathroom and,
that's more than fixing a bathroom.
well, but
It's well more than fixing a bathroom. And it has to be brought up to code. There are a lot of issues with that building that are not up to today's standards, including water management in the basement. And I mean, it's a good building, but it's not a good use right now for it. Kind of shoehorned the senior center in there. And it
how
really
long has
wasn't
the
its
senior
place.
center been
It's been a while.
1990, I should know that, but
There he is.
1994, something like 1994. But the other thing too, is that it was changed 5 years ago or so to Pleasant Street.
Okay, there you go. Pleasant Street Center, yeah.
Pleasant Street. I'll get the words right here.
Anybody here from Town Forest?
No, we're sending them next door.
You are? Yes, we're missing a few, that's why I'm looking.
there? So Carol,
Look at the table, Laura.
we're on agenda item number 1.
Taking notes.
Criteria,
Jackie,
Yeah.
Jackie is, okay, great.
criteria, ranking.
And Angela. You correct me if I'm. We're done with the criteria, then we can. Each member gets to rank. Top five.
Yeah, last week we talked about top 3 or top 5, right, last time?
So I suggested one of those exercises, that in lots of public meetings where people throw out ideas and then everybody gets stickers and you go up to the big sheet of paper and put your stickers on whatever you like. So if there are 12, everybody gets 6 stickers and you put,
14.
okay, what did you add?
We added.
Grant opportunities
It's
and,
actually 13.
yeah, so we just,
Number one's not a
Number one is.
yeah, number one's
Oh,
not a
that's right, yeah, right,
criteria.
right, right.
So we just added grant.
Right.
Grant opportunities.
And we expanded the generate revenue to 2 items, one for the town and one just we pay for itself.
We didn't have grant last time, I'm surprised.
No, it didn't. We
Was
missed
it, was it part of another sentence? All right.
So could we print this off and then rank our top 6 in order and then just throw that?
What if we just use the numbers that are up there and we all write down the numbers that we like? And then we can.
Yeah, right, we can, so we have 2 through 14.
Right.
That's what Nancy's saying, and we just do it from that.
So just take the numbers in your top 5 of those numbers. And then I'll transfer it to your paper.
Okay, do we get, so is it, how are we doing it? Like 1 vote each or?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, how do you think? You want to put 2 votes on one of them?
If somebody, if we all get 6 votes or however many votes or 7 votes, you can use no more than 2. Really wanna,
What do we want to do? Call each one out? Everyone raise their hand?
everybody, no,
Or
cause,
just write it down.
no, just write down the numbers. You have a sheet of paper, just write down the numbers.
So 2.
So we have to have some time.
Not everyone
What
has-
you wanna, does everybody have paper? Who wants paper? I have paper. Who needs paper?
I got,
Do you need paper?
Yeah.
Take some paper.
And I'll put next motion, the other ones.
All right, so grant,
Karen, we have paper.
I'll share.
Passing this in, is this a vote or can I keep it in my?
you'll,
I got it.
I'm getting it.
Yeah.
I guess I'm gonna-
I have 2 sheets.
Thanks.
One for me is a bit.
Any more paper that people?
So how many are we gonna get?
how many votes does everybody get? I don't care.
I honestly was just trying to look up there is like a right end, a correct end number, but it doesn't. I don't know what the formula.
Well, like if there are 14 choices, you should have, yeah.
I'm gonna throw a 5.
Yeah.
5? Top 5?
Top 5.
But it's not in order. It's just,
Yeah.
Top 5.
Yeah.
And then we can narrow it down if we want to.
See what.
The other numbers later, right? Then it kind of becomes top choices.
And you could put 2 twos if you wanted to, 2 in there. Yeah, if you think those are more important.
Strategic, all right.
Yeah.
so can I, so before we do this, I see, like fits town goals and master plans and coordinating with other town projects and committees. I mean, one is an end goal and one is a process.
Well,
So,
the town goals and master plan should be a big master plan for the whole town. It has nothing to do with what the committees want.
Right.
coordinating with town projects. But but coordinating with town projects
Like Birchmount.
and committed, yeah.
So Angela,
So I'm saying that if it coordinates with another committee, then it's fitting a goal. Like if it coordinates with Recalc or the Council on Aging, it is fitting an established goal. That's what I'm saying.
I
yeah,
think-
and that's so you say that before we vote, we want to go back to the suggestion of taking a look at this and see if any could be fine. Because I just saw another one also where we have on line 4 and line 5, highly ranked per survey and meets demonstrated need.
Oh, yeah.
Those are
the
very
same thing.
similar.
Yeah.
So,
I agree.
So I guess I'm
Although-
wondering, do we want?
Although there's some needs that weren't ranked highly.
Like
there's,
Like, yeah,
new schools demonstrated need.
right,
Like,
Yeah, that's a
like the-
non-starter. That's staying where it is. Why would, we're not gonna build it.
No, but it's.
So are the things that were ranked highly,
Like
needs
the,
for the town?
like the 60 plus center was not ranked as highly.
no,
But it's a demonstrated
And it
need.
is a
Yeah,
So
demonstration.
they're not the same.
they're not the same.
Okay. What about combining 7 and 13, or no, you don't wanna?
No, because those are two, I see the, I mean, maybe. I
To me, those are two different things to me.
Coordinates with other town projects. But I don't see that as an end result as much as a way to get to other things.
To make it the bottom.
Yeah, you don't have to prioritize it.
Yeah, right,
I think it's a priority as far as process.
right.
So,
Right. I wouldn't say we're gonna get rid of it. I think we're just trying to rank order them.
Yeah, we have to involve conservation. We have to involve the building. It's got maybe the PBC or CPDC, right, and recreation, right? So yeah, you're right, but yeah, it's there, but doesn't make it matter. Doesn't mean it's top 5. We're working on top 5 right now.
Top 5 first.
But we each write down our,
Numbers, and then I'll put X's against each of them.
and what'd you say, Chuck?
Yeah.
Five.
I didn't say 5.
I suggested 5 because we got,
Five.
I think 5 is good.
See what comes up.
We're not winning or losing here. It's like, no one's gonna be the winner, no one's gonna be the loser. Exactly. That was what I'm trying to say. There's no wrong answer. I'm done. Because there's no wrong answer. It's a lot.
That's right, it's easy to answer.
Right, it's, we all have different processes and different thoughts, and then
Numbers.
You guys are gonna be mad.
You what?
You're gonna be mad when I have you see how I've done this because I've combined some.
Can't do that.
And Carla, these are your rank, right?
yes,
Okay, so
if you want to put CB or if you want to put,
I'm gonna put, no, I thought I'd just put a 2. So in other words, these are where they're in the order, right?
Okay, but
I didn't do mine in order. I didn't do mine in
Oh,
order.
you do,
I'm not doing it in order either.
I would just do our initials, maybe,
Okay. Initials, okay,
just so we know who's who.
okay,
We don't have different color,
that's true.
different
Okay.
colors.
You didn't rank them 1 to 5, you just said.
Oh, I thought we
These
said,
are top 5, okay, yeah, so.
we can narrow it down further if we want, depending where it lands.
That's fine, now,
I think depending where it lands, it'll kind of make it the top 3 or the top whatever. Right? If 5 of us,
All right.
if 5 of us of the 7 agree that 2 is a top priority, that's a top ranking, is what I'm saying.
I know.
Actually, we could each do our own, right?
You could,
So there's a 14, right? There's a 14.
Yeah, there's a 14, there's a 14, Nancy.
no, because number 1 is scoring criteria.
Oh,
No, but it's number
Number,
14.
number.
You like,
Oh, you know what? I did mine by the line that it's on.
Yeah, right,
Yeah.
okay, yeah,
yeah, I don't know what,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, you're right, there's 14.
it's 2 through 14, your number is
Number 14.
Yeah. Got it,
14. Yeah.
got it. All right, so 10, did I do it? Yes, I did mine.
All right.
I'm gonna do yours, yeah. This is running out.
I always do it, you know.
Oh, yeah,
Oh, there's another one. This is a new. You'll be nice and bold. Oh, just.
Oh, thank you. So far, me, Nancy, and Karen are winning. We're keeping score. Winning.
Well, 11 is coming up high. Don't look at anybody else. Come on.
Yeah,
don't-
no,
don't-
no,
don't-
Yeah, no, it's not- yeah,
I'm not.
It's in my
I'm gonna
answers.
put yours up
No, I'm-
You don't have a 14 on there.
How lucky we can see it, right?
Yeah, right. Oh. This is that. Right?
And before even Angela gets up there, we've already narrowed down
Yeah.
top 3 or 4.
That's what
you do it.
I'm saying before you got up there, you say that's it. I said, before you even get up there, a few that stick out.
So you, I see.
Okay, so these are according to those numbers?
Yes.
Right.
Yes. There's no ones, it starts with 2.
Should be. Excuse me.
How you doing, Jackie?
You awake, Becky?
Yeah, she just moved the cursor.
Oh.
I am awake. It's a little hard to see the board though, so you'll have to let me know what you're ranking in there.
Okay,
All right.
we'll do that.
Perfect, thank you.
11.
11 is a
9.
9 and 11. 9 and 11 are.
have provided a wide range of public use and
Fits town goals. Really? Just me?
9 and 11.
You're
both.
the one- you're the one- you're the Lone Ranger on 3 of yours.
Fitting town goals, not important.
see, you want to work with the town, we want to go against it.
See, this is your idea. You can't criticize us for our answers.
We want to do the
Is that right?
exact.
Did
You
I?
have 5, you have 5 already.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
It's supposed to be 5.
Did we get 5 or 6?
You can do 6 if you want, we're supposed to do 5.
Okay, so,
We all did 5.
all right, well, you know what?
So Jackie, 9 and 11 you bolded, just so you know, we also, all 7 of us voted in support of those 2. If you can't see it, if you want.
Yeah, she had it on there, 11 and 9. Right.
Oh, you're new, that's good.
Yeah, that is good.
I didn't vote for 11.
Wait, did you?
Not unanimous.
Oh,
Not unanimous, no.
Heather didn't give it.
But 9 and
Did you?
9.
How come there's 7 up there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Heather, where's
Oh.
Heather?
6. No,
The 6 is 6.
6, my mistake on 11.
It's okay, it's okay.
C.
So
Yeah.
the top was 9, the second is 11.
All right, so let's actually do this then.
Yeah. but the
Number
numbers-
9 was the top one.
Yeah.
Number 11 was number 2,
Then number 5,
was number 3.
I think I might change my vote from 4 to 5.
and then 4.
4,
Next.
don't. 1, 2, 3, 4, and so it's
I know
12,
Is there a tie? You get a tie, right?
Should combine it, that it meets
Okay, and then
And it's.
and
scored
number
I think 4 and 5 should be.
five.
Demonstrating needs more of an umbrella.
Yes.
And then
And this is number 6.
it's number 6 too. Okay, and then what else is left?
Just number 2 and number 14.
And 7.
That-
But those are all singles, so it doesn't matter. Those are all one-offs.
So they're tied for 8, 8, and 8.
Singleton.
I'm sorry, I heard a whole lot of numbers in there.
Yeah, we'll tell you.
We'll get back to you.
Okay.
Is there a way to do a screenshot?
So we could just
tell her.
Yeah, so number 9 is the first in our list, okay? Number
Number-
11 is the second in the
Yep.
list. And then we have number 3 is number 5, okay? Is the third ranked,
Yeah, number 5 meets demonstrated needs,
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay? Those are the top 3.
and then we have two 4s, right?
Yeah, then after that comes 12 and
4.
number 4.
12 and 4 are 4.
Yep.
Yep.
And then after that comes 2 ties again, number 8 and number 10. Those 2 tie.
8 and 10 is 5, yep.
And then we have ones. Or I don't know if you want to include those or not.
I don't think that one, yeah. Anything.
Can I share a couple of
Yeah.
comments?
Yes,
I don't
absolutely.
want to disrupt this, just some thoughts as I was doing it, is that I kind of really wanted to combine 4 and 5.
Yeah.
That it would meet the demonstrated need as also expressed on the survey or something like that.
Yeah.
And then I guess I have kind of a proposal. Number 12, I felt kind of sad not 12.
You put the number.
Yeah, she did
Maintain
good.
ownership.
So generate,
What one
oh,
did you-
so
The one about maintaining town ownership of property,
That
it made me a little bit sad to use one of my votes on that because I feel like that should be a baseline requirement. And I guess I'm wondering if others on the committee agree with that, or if you are thinking that there's flexibility on whether or not the town disposes of that property and doesn't retain control.
I hear what you're saying, and that was in my top 5, but I do see where some wonderful offer comes down the road to, someone that wants to buy the property to do all the
And it
things,
meets all our needs.
then it's something, I guess, we'd have.
Yeah, I would think you would.
Okay.
That's kind of, but I agree with you.
So it might be the case, I mean, I could see the case that it has a lot of cleanup that has to go on that piece of property. And we find somebody who wants to build a building and they want to clean it up. They'll only do it if they own that piece of property. So we
Yeah.
don't kick them out because
Right, because they spent all
they
that
spend
money.
all that money cleaning
Right.
it up. So there's some vested interest that they want to have in that, and we get income from it, from tax. We make a deal when they clean it up, but they don't pay taxes. I don't know.
Yeah, and as long as something like that, I think hypothetically, as long as it was combined with like an ironclad agreement so that it's meeting a
All the
public
needs.
need.
Yeah. Exactly. So there are,
Yeah,
I doubt that will happen, but
that's
that's
a good example.
how I kind of looked at it.
So number 1, provides a wide range of public use. Good. That's good.
So Jackie, now you can shift it back into that.
Yeah, do the other, that was good.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, wow, okay. Provides a wide range of public use. Intergeneration use. Meets demonstrated need. Highly ranked per survey.
Those are probably the same. You're probably.
Wait, maintaining ownership. Nobody had that.
12?
12, yeah, there's 4 people with 12.
Oh. Oh, you didn't want to use it. Oh. Okay.
I sad to use
To use it on
I
that.
saw that as some baseline, but I
Oh.
persuaded.
Yeah, okay.
with you. I mean, in a way, I don't know how you're gonna provide a wide range of things.
Yeah, definitely true.
You know, I'm flattered by that one, but there's some, could be a situation where,
There could be a situation we haven't envisioned, right, yeah.
I didn't for minimal tax, the fiscal part of me thought, I should have that in my top 5, but then I thought about it. Those things tend to work themselves out, and I hate to waste a vote on making sure it was fiscally responsible, and rambling, but
Like if it added $10 to our tax bill per household,
I'd hate to, say, oh, but, we gotta keep the costs down, so we're gonna have to get rid of that.
I wish,
Great idea.
I wish we had thought of that before we actually did the ranking, because if there were criteria that were fiscally responsible, instead of just minimal taxpayer expense.
So maybe that's
That
what
would make me
Yeah.
feel better.
But that's what I meant, like, financial, there are a bunch that deal with financial in different ways, but here's the thing, though. We might say minimal taxpayer expense. However, if there were a project that met a lot of these needs, people would be okay with paying for it, right? So I think it depends on people's desire or willingness to pay for something that is dependent upon.
Well, I also,
Yeah, and that's where it gets to kind of that broader sensibility of fiscally responsible, not,
Right.
yeah.
minimal taxpayer expense means a lot. I mean, it also could mean that you found a grant.
Right.
Which,
Would it
Sure.
fiscally
Yeah.
responsible mean that as well?
yeah, that's the only financial one that made it up there. I'm okay with changing it to financially responsible,
Yeah. that
fiscally
would be fine.
responsible.
Which to me
Because I would-
implies minimal taxpayer.
Yes,
This is for our internal use,
Yeah,
right?
right.
And so generating
Yeah.
these
Yeah.
discussion is,
There you go, fiscally responsible. Thank you, Jackie.
wait,
What
what
did
did
she
she
imagine?
it's like Siri.
I know, it's really good. She wrote
Wait, where did
fiscally
she put it?
responsible after minimal taxpayer expense, fiscally responsible. That's where she put it. See?
Yeah, but those are different things. And and that's, we didn't have, they are different things.
How do you see them different in this situation?
To be fiscally responsible and minimum.
I agree that they're different.
They're different things, and they're different things, and I think we can have a discussion now, but we can't change what we voted on. That's the way we voted on.
Well, I guess the question would be, is anybody who voted on that uncomfortable with changing? Because I heard a great comment that there could be a very good project that is, say, more expensive than another good project, but meets more of the need, is more popular, but it's not like we're going with lowest cost project.
That's where fiscally
And that to me is
responsible.
kind of the difference.
Yeah.
So I don't think we can change it after we voted, but I do think that, let's think about it in our criteria, what? I mean,
No, she moved it.
but it's good for these kind of discussions, and it's good for, talking about what we do think is important. Yeah. And maybe, 3 meetings from now,
it wasn't enough, that's the.
She had it as number 8.
It wasn't the minimal taxpayer.
So I guess the question is the people let me pose the question, because I kind of agree that it's the people who voted for that as a criteria, which would be Nancy, Karen, and me, do any of us mind changing?
I don't mind changing it, because I think that's what we're trying to get to.
That's what.
Yeah, I
I'm not trying to circumvent you, but I'm
I
not.
think that's fine.
I'm not trying to unnecessarily box us in if the people who voted for that
agree
are
with it.
okay with changing the
agree with that.
language.
Right, yep.
Yes, this is nothing binding.
Yeah.
No, I know, but it also wasn't, so I didn't vote for it because that was the language there.
All the better, then we're moving toward consensus.
Yeah.
Right.
You can change
Yeah,
it. Change your vote.
As I was trying to, I mean, I always looked at, we gotta be careful with what we, but I didn't want to waste one of my 5 votes.
Right, and so,
Right.
I'm really comfortable moving in
I'm
that direction to find even greater consensus.
I think it said more than me. But I intended.
Too.
So we'll change number 8 to fiscally responsible.
Yeah, I mean, I chose that one as a juxtaposition to the other.
No, you
two.
can't, you can add it at the end, but you have to keep it there because that's what
Put
we
it on
need.
purpose.
That's what it was.
All right, Jackie, we should put it
You can put you can
minimal taxpayer spends /
flash,
fiscally
Like she
responsible.
initially did.
Like you did. You did a
Yeah.
good job. Yeah, thank you. That's good.
I think it's good for now.
That's, yeah.
No, and I appreciate this discussion too.
Like I said, I voted for that one because I wanted to choose one of the revenue generators.
Right, I
And I
did too.
didn't prioritize it being a cash cow for the town.
Like I did.
One thing I have to admit, I didn't vote for it, but fitting the town goals and master plan and coordinating with other town projects. I think those are important points.
I think those are operational things though that we're gonna do anyway.
said to number 13, that it's,
Wait, I
no,
looked
you
at it.
don't want to
Well, we
wait.
need to vote on that.
I mean, I think we're gonna,
I don't think we know what that is. So how
Right.
can I vote on something I don't know what it is? If I knew that those were the priorities and I
Yeah.
felt we
I-
needed to
yeah,
coordinate with
I mean,
them,
I
we
would-
could, but.
I don't think they go away.
No.
Well, I think that's clearly what the select board has to consider with whatever we are moving forward.
Well, and do that, I mean, if we come up with something that fits none of the town goals, when we present it to the select board, they're gonna go, where'd you come up with this? Thanks very much. It meets none of our goals. Back shelf. So,
Well,
Yeah.
I also, I was challenged to prioritize that because A, as was pointed out at town meeting, our master plan is very, very old. We have multiple plans that could make up the master plan, we might want to take a look at the open space plan. I honestly don't know if there are town goals that are crisply articulated where we can say, check, 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 this meets it. There's a lot of discussion. There are many different plans. I think we'd be challenged to conform to that if we voted for it.
When I was kind of doing my, I always had in the back of my mind the survey.
Yeah.
So I didn't see anything in any of the survey questions that are, and I don't think the master plan mentions pickleball court.
No.
So,
But it could be saying that it has open space, whatever,
but town goals, I sort of see as, there is a very demonstrated need for the recreation committee or department to provide, what people want, and people want pickleball courts. So I see that, there might not be but I think it is, it is a departmental goal of the town to provide recreational services.
Are we good with this? Is everyone comfortable?
yeah, I mean,
we can certainly get back to it.
I think the intergenerational use, satisfies the senior center's feasibility study.
To me, it does. I mean, that's, from the get-go, in my mind, this was always a piece of land that we own. It would be enough space for either a standalone or part of something else. So more so now than ever, it has to be probably discussed, recalcs, just so you guys know, because I missed the beginning, probably Chuck wouldn't know. Recalc's charge has been extended. They're not sunsetting. They were supposed to. So I think we let it go at least 6 more months. I don't memorize. So they're gonna continue, recal's gonna continue. So we're gonna go parallel, obviously, but they're solely focusing on senior needs programming, what we can do to move a project forward. Right? If that happens, once the feasibility study comes in, if Simon Way becomes a site, right? And then we'll know that from the feasibility study, and then we can talk about it however we want to talk about it. It doesn't mean it's gonna go there, but some consultant said this would be a good spot for it. The residents, us, and everyone else might disagree, but it's going to have to be part of our conversation.
Sure.
Going forward.
Well, a question I kicked out before you got here was, why did we, it seems like the senior center discussion, that discussion is well down the tracks. Now we're talking about a feasibility. Why wouldn't we have done that in the beginning?
So we don't have enough time tonight to go over that because that's a sore spot for me, but it's, we allocated the money with ARPA many months ago. ARPA committee vetted it. Right? They allocated $300,000 towards it. And they had many meetings about it.
I think it's a great idea, but
Yeah.
I think we should have done that before we started wasting many staff time hours.
Well, we did, then we started down that road and then Walgreens came, it was a timing thing. It was a timing thing.
Yeah.
It was timing. We were ready to go and then all of a sudden, Fidel, who's always the one to reach out, said, hey, these guys are open to, so that's kind of sidetracked. That's why. And a lot of effort was put into the Walgreens project. Many, many months. Inspections, town staff, renderings.
Time is money.
I know, listen, I know, I know. But that's the process, that's the road that we went down. Now that road's closed, so we have to open up the road again.
So we're now just trying to think through how these criteria that we have might work. I'm gonna throw that school out there, because that one is really, I hope doesn't really play itself out. So it's not like the dog park, which is potential, I guess. But so looking at this, to me, the main one that it would work for it meets a demonstrated need, but it wouldn't get highly rated for the survey because not many people want to.
What are you talking about?
Just trying to see how this criteria works. So let's say we want to do a school.
A school, okay,
How does that work with the criteria that we're working with?
okay.
And I hope it comes out low because I don't think the school is a great.
Right, this is a test,
And
right?
it's a hypothetical.
It's hypothetical.
Okay,
Yeah, it doesn't meet number 1, 2, 1 or 2.
Right.
And or 4.
Highly ranked. I don't think it's very compatible in this round.
And it wasn't ranked highly, but the one thing it does is the demonstrated need.
Demonstrated need.
Because they need to replace killer.
Well, what do we mean by wide range of public use? Because you could say it doesn't provide that. Schools do, maybe not a wide range.
I guess,
Wide range means.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a good question.
I think beyond education.
Right.
Other possibilities.
Part of provides a wide range of public use in my mind is it meets a lot of what's ranked on the survey as being high, because I think those kind of go together, right? So it's not just a school, it's got pickleball courts, it's got intergenerational meeting spaces, it's got, and that's sort of how I would look at it. I think a school has some of that for kids, for youth, but not necessarily.
And you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we're down the road with trying with the MSBA
So we're
process.
gonna go there.
And we couldn't then say all of a sudden, when the project is another site.
No, that's not part of the feasibility.
It's not fiscally responsible.
No, it's not.
And I
It
don't,
wouldn't coordinate with the other.
I don't think that we could put a school next to a rifle range.
No.
That's for me, so that's number, the compatible is found in use.
Yeah, right.
It'd be good for the Alice drills.
Unfortunately.
So I also think wide range of public use and maybe, but in my mind, I'm thinking that like if we have recreation there, it fits older adults and
Right.
younger adults. So it's not really a range of public use, but it's a range of public.
And I remember when we developed that criteria, the public use part was really important to me. And that was in the context of if we go down the line of a public-private partnership, being sure that with this process, that being town property and a town acquisition, that the public use is always served there. And then I think, yeah, we broaden that to be sure that we're including a wider public.
So just think of this through, to me, hypothetically, a school would provide potentially a wide range of public use, because you probably have fields there. You could potentially put pickleball there, but probably not sound.
But it probably wouldn't provide that intergenerational use, right?
It would or
Would not.
would not.
With
It's
their,
not to say that a school could be only for that.
There
I
would
think on
be-
this particular site, there's not enough room.
yeah, I was gonna say, there's not, I wouldn't even think there's enough room.
No, not for a school, for parking and.
Are we looking?
No, no.
Just-
Hypothetical.
So,
Okay, it's just trying to see how the criteria
A school
works
would,
with a specific
yeah.
project.
So do you need a criteria like that wouldn't fit? I mean, or is that just kind of assumed?
Can I ask another question? How many, I mean, because we are not limited to only one idea that we're moving forward.
Right.
How many ideas are we moving forward? How much detail are we moving forward as well? Are we, I mean, we could, what is,
I was thinking something, I had a similar question in my mind as I was listening to the hypothetical about the school. I was also thinking, well, okay, we've already been heading in a certain direction with a range of ideas that we put out through the survey. In the survey, we did include things like that I don't think would fit this criteria. That might actually be a good one to test.
Yeah.
And so for how many and what kind of uses do we want to suggest? Maybe we want to go back to the survey. I mean, my recollection is that recreational use ranked highly. Fields ranked highly. There are many categories where they were so broad. So maybe we go back to that and say, okay, what are some things that we were actually talking about here? And come up with, develop our list of potential uses that we're actually considering. And I don't know what that magic number is, but maybe we, kind of like what we did with criteria, we start to map that out.
We had some plans that show some of the impacts. Those plans that we got early on don't show the expanded space, but
Yeah.
I'm not sure that that expanded space really does us any good after having taken a look at it, but that's okay. We have to discuss that. But I think part of this is coming to the select board and saying, well, we put an RFI out there and it's coming back with something that isn't going to fit the criteria we've come up with. And then one of the other pieces that probably should be part of another meeting is the grant part of it. How do we understand if there's grant money for dog parks or grant money for pickleball sport improvement in the town? I mean, I don't know. And I'm assuming that the economic development person or somebody can help us in the town with knowing.
Oh,
But
can I?
I think Ben,
Can I give an update on the
Yeah.
dog park situation? So, Mr. Finch, could be wrong, but someone, no, not Finch. He's Forest Trails. It was, Stephen Cool came to our last meeting and found out through his research, and he's kind of, let's say I don't want to say the main proponent, but he's really energized about the dog park. Right? A lot of surrounding towns have it, we don't. So he found out, and then with even more due diligence, he found out more that the grant opportunity, Stanton Foundation is sunsetting.
oh,
There
right,
was a clock on applying. We have to apply and have a location by December.
Oh.
or we lose any opportunity for any funding from that foundation.
What's
Is
the-
that
what do you-
really the only
what is the-
source of funding to develop? a
It's
park?
250 grand. It's a lot.
What do you, what are you gonna put in, doggy potty?
No, they put all sorts of paper
What do you-
in the park.
No,
They're pretty cool.
Oh, actually, have you been to a dog park? Yeah, they're
They're much more
walk my
than,
dog down the street.
no, it's more than that.
yeah.
It can be more than that. It can be a lot.
Have you ever been to Great Car?
You know, I have to ask everybody, did the dog park rank highly in our survey?
No.
It didn't rank highly, but it wasn't negligible.
No,
I mean,
it's up there.
But it is a town need.
I mean, so,
Can't we
but
take
again,
corner of
here,
the
I
town
don't know
forest
what
and
the
turn it
square,
into a dog park?
did you
Possibly.
say what the square footage is? I don't, do
It
you
can be
know?
anything.
Okay, because
Because they have, a lot of times they have two
the
pens.
large animal and the
Yes.
small
They
animal.
have
So that you
locks so
don't
that they
have-
don't run out when you.
Yeah,
open the
yeah,
gate.
it's a double gate so that once you get in, you're.
They can have
and then there's
things in there for them to run through and jump on.
Yeah.
All right, I just want to give you an update on the
Yeah.
grant opportunity /
So they're working on that, right?
yes, yes.
So if they want to do Symonds Way, they should come and talk to us.
Yeah, we're,
Yeah.
we, you know, we.
So to your comment about the additional space doesn't get us much, but I think the charge does, because it now gives us an opportunity to consider moving the baseball field or whatever, remember? we
That's right,
talked
yeah, no, that's true, that maybe you get better land
You get
somewhere else.
better
kind of a better
Use of
use.
the whole project,
But I guess to my comment
or the whole
on my concern,
parcel, I should say.
the parking lot is perfect for a lot of things, because it's nice and flat and already developed, and we know it's clean to some extent.
The Burbank,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we need that parking to go somewhere.
Right.
So the only way that really works in the plan is if we decide, okay, that's flat, clean, and great for pickleball courts, but the other, which is all up and down and a mess, we let that be overflow parking.
Or do we elevate the parking over the pickle?
and
It'll be the other way around.
pickleball would be on top of the ground.
Yeah, like that.
Merging with something on
On top. Well, and that's where the RFIs come in.
Yeah.
It could be that parking's underneath this building,
Yeah.
and up above are 4 stories, which would be too high, but what's
A couple
ice, couple
yeah.
story ice.
But that keeps, for me, it keeps coming back to the point of how much detail do we need to then make those recommendations, and how many recommendations are we offering? Because we can't know everything. So are we just, offering, like, these are what we're thinking? That's why I'm thinking the caveats. Like, this would be really good if this is a possibility. And
Yeah,
we don't know when we'll know that information.
I guess.
I think back to the grants, just because there's a grant out there.
No, I get it. No, it doesn't mean we have to do it, but
No.
it helped a lot of towns.
It's a dad joke.
A lot of towns, help a lot of towns move those projects forward. Right? And some years are doing 5 to 9 in 1 year. So do that math, I can't do that quick, that's millions of dollars,
Yes.
So what about that plot of land, like when you go into the town forest and that big open,
That one
it
next
used
to
to
the
be
water.
like with a water
Yeah.
treatment. Why couldn't you put a dog park?
It's been discussed, but now we're getting off track. All right?
Yeah. That's not.
We're gonna spin our wheels, and it's not our,
There are other places.
yeah, it's not our,
So I wouldn't say, oh, we should put a dog park there because we could get money for it if there was no interest. But there is some interest in a dog park, and that is why,
Right.
it came forward. So if there is some interest, even if it's a little lower, but there's money, then
Maybe it goes on.
maybe.
Is there any pickleball grants out there that you know
I
of?
don't think so. I mean, the shirt I had on earlier is the RPPA, the Reading, why is it 2 Ps? Reading Pickleball Something Association,
They only made $48 at
like Friends of Reading Tennis. Instead of doing Friends of Reading Pickleball, I did another acronym. And they're trying to raise money like Friends of Reading Tennis did. To give, hopefully a big bag of money to the town to, instead of
We
waiting.
only collected 48 bucks
a
from
pound day.
family day.
That was like a tip jar. That was a tip jar. That was-
How about car wash things that they sold? I took it. They said they got half of the money from every car wash.
I don't know.
That doesn't sound right.
That wasn't a big money thing. That was to have a presence.
Yeah,
I think, Michael and Judy and everybody.
I don't know, I'm just being.
I've got it open to show what were the top vote getters.
Oh, where are you? In the,
So I'm looking at an old packet from the final SWEC survey. And so the top vote getter was outdoor athletic fields or courts.
Yeah.
And that was the top vote getter, and it had 431 votes out of the 1,700. The next highest one was
Indoor.
recreation center, was the indoor.
okay, can I say something though? The way we phrased it on that, which is kind of interesting, we discussed this last night at the recreation committee. We actually wrote indoor recreation facility that was operated by the recreation department. That is what we put on the survey, which is interesting, which is a different thing than a for-profit thing coming in.
Didn't our charge include though, making a proposal or something like that?
Public private, yeah.
If that's what it's determined, but what was on the survey and what people were responding to was not public-private partnership, but something by
So I think that's also just a caveat that we have to keep in mind as we're going through
the public-private partnership. Yes, yes.
a caveat that the survey, didn't ask about the public partnership rights.
Right, but it also didn't just say
Yeah.
indoor complex.
Yeah.
And then what came after that, Karen?
The next was,
Open space.
yes. Well, that was that was in number 1 question. This is number 2. So conservation land, park and green spaces was 3rd, yeah.
And was passive recreation there too? Or was that with the,
Oh, see, okay.
oh, look at that, okay.
Thank you, Jackie.
And it's helpful to look down at the numbers below.
The dog park was up there.
Yeah, Dog Park was not,
Dog
oh
park
wait,
was-
no, that's
was-
not ranked in order.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Dog park was next to last.
yeah, Dog Park got a
Oh,
3.
actually, dog,
What did the 1 through 8 numbers at the top mean?
That's probably the order that they were.
Oh, I see, yes, okay.
yeah. So at the bottom 3 were skate park, affordable housing, dog park.
Okay.
Those were the bottom 3.
Jackie, can you go back up to the graph? Okay, so that shows outdoor athletic field, but then indoor was close by and conservation. I mean, that's a big, to consider that.
That's a big indicator of what folks are prioritizing.
Right, but there's also a big, outdoor athletic fields and indoor athletic fields kind of go together. But to have,
Community center didn't beat out the dog park by
but to have like an indoor recreation facility and right by it, conservation land, like those are not so compatible, you know what I mean? Like they're not,
It's like I said, conservation land could
There's
be,
going to be consequences.
yeah, there is, there's walkways that could go
Yeah,
through that.
really?
Well, there's the 15 acres, it's tentative,
Yeah,
we're assuming,
okay.
but it hasn't been given yet. We're assuming, I'm assuming it would be conservation land.
Yeah, so conservation land, I
It's
mean,
happening.
like passive recreation and conservation land happens everywhere. We've got walkways through all sorts of.
but when people were filling that too, they were just thinking about the small pieces.
Yeah.
Too, so.
I don't know.
Yeah,
And I equate fields to me are the same as open space. For me, I'm saying for me, right? It's not a building. It's not a parking lot. A field is open space, right? That's my what I interpret. Not, and someone else might interpret trees, you know, animals, rabbits, but when there's not a building, to me, that's open space.
And what we asked
Yeah,
about,
except,
what we asked
but
about
it's-
was a recreation center, outdoor athletic fields, or conservation lane / park. So that's, we were kind of implying that these were somewhat different things that we were asking about. I'm not saying, I think those two things go together.
go back to conservation land, what was it? How did that get broken up? Conservation land.
Park and or green space.
Okay, so turf, I don't consider green space, right? Because that is that's synthetic. Is that considered green space?
Well, I think the way that we asked
Do
it,
you
you
think so?
asked it where we were asking people to rank it compared to outdoor athletic fields. I think we implied that they were different things.
Yes,
More parkland.
yes, park-like as opposed
You
to,
could go and have a pickup game with baseball if you wanted to, or
Yeah.
cricket.
Are we okay to move on to RFI or? It's almost
Can I-
almost 8 o'clock.
can I give my report that relates to the RFI? I gave my report to SPAC lab, to Recreation Committee. And I have some feedback about what they said because I presented the criteria and I presented the RFI. And there were a couple things that were their comments.
It's not on the agenda, so I'm trying to get where you're coming from, just so I know.
What I'm coming from is that we are, so then do you want to officially move into the RFI because this relates to the RFI? And as the Recreation Committee representative discussing the RFI, I would like to be able to talk about what the Recreation Committee, their input into the RFI. So when can I do that?
Well, that's why I just asked, we okay to move on and we can get an answer yet. If people might want to discuss the criteria still. If we're all okay to move on, then we're gonna move on.
Okay,
Not-
should we go to agenda item 2 first?
That's
That's our-
Well, I mean, I'm trying to, I was late, but I'm trying to be cognizant that we don't be until 10.
I think. Yeah, RFI. Yeah, let's move on.
I'm ready to move on, but I'm still curious what we should do with the criteria. But
Yeah.
I guess we can discuss that.
Yeah, I think having the criteria out there helps. Decisions going forward is how I look at it.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
So I think now we need to know what we're deciding on. So maybe the RFI is one of the components to that.
And I think the RFI results are going to be important to us as part of this conversation.
Right,
moving
exactly.
Forward, so.
That's how I could decide. Kind of formalize what that criteria is to some
For the
extent.
RFI.
For
Okay.
the RFI.
Angela, you want to give us feedback / discussion from the Recreation Committee about the, discussing the RFI?
So I brought all of this up and told them, and so they had a few comments about it. Jim, who is the new recreation director, said field space, lit field space is his biggest priority as far as recreation.
And who was this?
Jim Sullivan.
Jim Sullivan, who is the new recreation department, I don't know what his
Okay.
Jenna
administrator.
got promoted.
Oh, yeah, yeah, so Jenna is in charge of public services, yeah. And so he is now the new person, and he said that field space, lit field space, that is his biggest priority. There was a long discussion, he had a lot of comments.
But he's not bringing up anything that, if he had 5 predecessors, they all would have said the same thing. That's an age-old problem. It's
Yeah, and lights.
And like,
like,
Right, but now we have land and we're talking about what to do with
Right, it
it.
gets to that demonstrated need question.
So it gets to the demonstrated need, and he also had, he also comes from, well, Marblehead and Winchester. And he said that he worked someplace where, they had a joint community center where
That was in Marblehead.
in Marblehead, where it was town-owned, and part of it was like a field house, sort of indoor, and the other half was like a senior center, and he said it worked out really well.
Peter Lynch probably paid for it.
The neighborhood that I grew up in on the other side of the country, that's basically the scene that we had.
Okay, and another, I'll just tell you what a few of the comments were. One of the comments from a person on the committee was sort of questioning going out for an RFI without having, really narrowed down what we're looking at. And another person said that the committee, if we're looking at primarily recreational uses, that we should really respect the town recreation department. And so I think that it would be a good idea before we finalize what we want in an RFI. I think it would be a good idea to have him and maybe Jenna come in and to just sort of discuss town needs as far as recreation. In light also of Birch Meadow, the master plan, pickleball courts being shuttled, that. So, and he had a lot of good thoughts and experience with public-private partnerships and joint community centers. And, part of our charge too is these are the people that are supposed to be, the town departments that are supposed to be eating us if we have questions. So, anyway, that is what I have to say about what we talked about last night at the recreation committee meeting. And I think it would be a great idea to have him in to offer his thoughts on what is needed from the recreation department side of things.
But I have a question. Wouldn't that be a given anyway? Wouldn't Fidel then work within his own staff to say what should, like if we're like the third item is discuss and vote to direct the town manager to issue an RFI. Are we detailing what the RFI is?
Yeah,
We should.
We should be.
determine what the priorities are for the
Yeah.
RFI.
These are very detailed,
They'll put together the detailed RFI, but we need to direct it.
Yeah.
well,
And
what I'm saying is that we should direct him to include the recreation
But
department.
I don't want the recreation department to say, well, I want this, 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 but we as the committee
Yeah.
say, wait a minute, that's not what we think based upon the survey's priority. I think we need to shape it.
Okay.
So I agree with having the head of recreation in here to give us.
Trying to streamline.
Yeah,
it.
I mean, they're gonna advocate for themselves, right? Like if you got conservation here,
Yeah,
we have Chuck in here, Chuck would say, leave it the way it is.
Yeah.
That's what Chuck would say,
So I'd
right?
like to hear what they have to say.
But
I mean,
the
survey
thing is,
did a
we're
lot
talking,
of work for them.
the survey did a lot of work for them insofar as this is what, certain people want, but they're the ones, he's the one who hears and who is working with all of the leagues and all of the people and doing the scheduling for all of the fields and all of that. So we know what the people who filled out the survey want, and it probably streamlines in a lot of ways with what he wants. I would rather get him to come in here so that we can ask him any questions, he can offer any insights he has, and then we're the ones who can more shape what we want on an RFI, and then Fidel will work with the staff. But I'd like to hear from him, and I'd like everybody to hear from him so that we can ask questions or we can, do that rather than just telling Fidel work with
So who would be in, I'm sorry.
I would say, if he's saying that lit fields are the priority for the recreation department, all I can think of is that's not incompatible with what the survey said. And then I also am thinking that to direct Fidel to go issue an RFI, I really feel like this committee should be also directing the components that the RFI
Exactly.
would include.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
I don't know that we have done that yet. I wouldn't want to say, okay, go develop an RFI. Have
Yeah.
fun. The wells, I think that's what others were saying, the wells they went had those components and even had a map. I guess maybe a baseline question is, the RFI that we issue, are we going to ask a respondent to say, include
Right.
these 3 uses, or are we going to say, these are the 5 uses that we think Reading is interested in. What would you do with those 5 uses so that we allow the respondents some flexibility? That to me is kind of the key question, is how specific are we going to be about the uses? Are we going to leave some flexibility for respondents?
Right.
I think it's a bigger discussion right now too.
I don't think the lit field thing is, but what other fields are gonna get lit that aren't gonna cause us trouble? I mean, the stadium and turf 2 and the Birch, for the girls softball field, that's already lit.
Yeah.
What else is there to light? That other than baseball fields.
What do you mean, what else
And you're
is there?
not letting ones, can I mean, because I would like.
What other fields that aren't we lighting now? I guess is what I'm,
A lot.
which one?
But
Parker's not lit.
You're gonna let the
Yeah,
neighbors
you're-
gonna
and
let you
actually,
light?
That's the problem.
Yeah, but
Right.
okay, so
So we
Coolidge
would've-
isn't lit.
we already did this and
Right.
and Bob and John Hall, they scuttled it when it was ready to get paid for.
Right.
So
say that again?
they scuttled it. Remember, we had this already approved at town meeting. That we were gonna do we were gonna light Morton Field, we were gonna light the Little League baseball field, we were gonna light.
No, I know, but it got scuttled because we had an override. What?
Well, the money, they thought it cost if they thought it cost too much money then, it's probably double that now.
To take into.
so what we have at Symonds Way in our expanded charge is actually a good example. I mean, it may not even need to be too terribly complicated. There's a baseball field there, there's a soccer field there that I'm now realizing maybe the outfield of the baseball field. That soccer field can't be used for evening practices because it's not lit. So if we are going forward and saying, presenting recommendations, and if the recommendations for the site were to include athletic fields, I might be inclined to go one step further and recommend that it include lit athletic fields. It's compatible, I think it's compatible with the surrounding uses, because there's not a lot of housing there, but I'd have to look at a map.
Up in that area.
Up in that area, like the gun range, that's
Yeah.
fine. What I'm thinking is like, okay, that may not be too complicated as long as we're recommending uses there. Let's provide nighttime use.
Sure.
So how is that compatible with the business purposes? I mean, why would they be interested in funding that?
I don't
No,
know,
that
that's
would be
what-
their funding. I think
Yeah.
if we do an RFI, it's really for a building.
Okay,
in
that's what I'm
the
wondering why we're
facility.
spending so much time.
I'm on live, I know, I don't think.
Field, okay.
Or it's a combination of buildings and outdoor fields that they rent out and hopefully, Reading gets. some of that. I
But
mean, we're
again,
renting out
be-
fields, so-
Before we put out an RFI.
Yeah.
We need to know what we want to ask for, right? Because Wellesley, it seems like they built all of that, including a field. And they gave the field to the town. They did that for the town.
Right, as a way to get the building.
As a
Exactly.
way to get the building. So it is possible that, that could be part of an RFI, would be a lit field. But again, I think that there needs to be some sort of idea of what we would want there before we go ahead and send out an RFI.
So this came up, Nancy, last night that I don't know that, at least I don't think an RFI just means a building. An RFI could be come in and reconfigure that. Someone's gonna wanna get paid to do, even if it is to come in and set up fields.
Right.
It doesn't necessarily, have to be a building. It could be
That's true, but I'm thinking,
redesign the complex.
but I'm thinking, how do they make money on something that isn't a building?
Well, they wouldn't. They'd come in and say, well, we'll charge you X amount to rebuild your, move the baseball field over here,
I think that's,
put in a,
But that's
That's
not what
what
we're asking for. We want to see if we want to partner with the business in.
is that what, isn't
the
the
RFI
RFI?
is to see if somebody wants to build something to run it. I mean,
Is that what it is?
Yeah, that's what we're proposing,
that's
yes.
what we're proposing. I mean, there could be a.
Could be a combination of things,
Could be.
but a building, like Wellesley, correct me if I'm wrong, is an RFP, it's not an RFI.
No, they started with an RFI and then they went to.
The example we have is
It's an RFI.
RFI, okay, so that's an RFI, very detailed.
Yeah. yeah.
I know, that's what made me
I think.
feel like we need to have a more concrete
Yeah, if we're gonna
idea
get any- if we're gonna get any
And they-
responses,
of what we are looking for.
They included a potential land use schematic, aquatic center, skating center, and a field.
that's what they got.
And they went, yeah. And they were very specific because Wellesley didn't have those things.
And they also had the funds, they did a feasibility.
They're a very wealthy town, and, I read it in more detail about we're a very wealthy town and our citizens are willing to pay a lot for something like
Yeah.
this.
And they were talking,
They went,
And Litchfields, yeah.
and they were talking about,
9 though.
they were talking about converting a church. So they had a structure.
They
So
did.
that's another big difference.
Yeah,
What do you mean converting the church?
With the St. James, the great.
Oh, they tore it down.
Right, but
Yeah.
they had, yes.
They had a-
Oh, they had, yeah.
So we're talking also a larger piece of property
And a
lot
less,
more-
and a
lot less
weirder
developed.
piece.
Yeah.
No. Well, the more specific we can be, the better the RFI will be. They're supposed to be looking at.
Right.
So we do need to have that conversation, and I would suggest we don't have time tonight.
You know who did the Wellesley thing?
I don't know. Probably look it up.
Did the developer?
Secure. Maybe you might know when you're serving.
Not necessarily. It's,
I don't think there are a lot of people who do this, right? I mean, this isn't, there's a few, do you know who did it? There's,
We could Google it, just do Wellesley Route 9 into it, yeah. If you said the name, I would know it, but I can't recall it right now. I don't. So are you guys comfortable with then we're punting
yes,
a little bit? Number 2,
we should invite
can we invite?
recreation.
Jim Sullivan to the July meeting?
Yeah. If he's available for the next meeting.
And I think it's also important to have Fidel at that meeting.
Yeah, I could.
He's doing his
He's
Harvard.
he's
He's a Harvard.
away for a month, right? Away for a month. Well, isn't it a month
3
in the
weeks,
class?
like 3 weeks.
So he'll be back for the
Okay.
next meeting.
I think it's at least 3 weeks, full time. He's not here. And Matt's in charge.
So what is he, like, living on campus?
No, he's going home. He's there all day. He's checking his emails on breaks, but he's got executive program for municipal leaders and stuff like that.
So we're tabling the vote.
Yeah, we didn't even do number 2 yet, so we have to table the vote.
So we reviewed the request for information from Wellesley, and we have decided to continue that, to continue to review and ask for rec department representation as well as Fidel.
How much word if you can't make July?
We can do it the next.
Okay.
But let's,
Then we lose 2 months.
we should think about if we're bringing in the rec, who else do we want to come in? Do we want someone from recount someone from, you know, the senior center advocates to come in and say why.
I think not, because the feasibility study's being done. Right now, that would be my vote if we're gonna,
Yeah,
because the feasibility study's being done,
Is it, so when is that information going to be?
probably for the next couple months. And
So
so,
by the fall, we.
you want that way before the fall. way before.
The feasibility
well, we
study would be
didn't,
completed.
we brought this up with, when did we talk about this with them? See.
The last
meeting. I thought it, I got the sense from him that it wasn't any time, so.
It should be by late summer, early fall.
That's better than.
That's, yes, that'll be very helpful information.
And now, is there anybody else that we want to hear from?
We've heard from Chuck multiple times. I have no problem having Chuck back. That's that.
Well, I think for this particular purpose, we're really looking at recreation, line up what we've done in the RFI. That's how I would kind of frame it, because I don't want to
Yeah.
go off on different tracks. I think it's really just the RFI that we should concentrate at the next meeting. And hopefully he's available. If he's not, maybe there's another date in there that he could make.
Well, but one of the top things on our list was intergenerational.
Yeah, but that doesn't necessarily mean the RFI. Well, we could phrase it that there's intergenerational meeting space. or
Wouldn't
something.
someone want to come in, that if someone was coming in to propose a building, wouldn't we want to know?
So it could be a pickup game between toddlers and seniors. I mean, that.
No, I mean, if it's a multi-generational facility, then
Yeah, I mean, are we under the assumption though, that if there is a building there, the only way it will be built is if there's a public-private partnership? Have we completely given up on the idea that there's a possibility for a building that the town owns, like a multi-intergenerational facility where there's recreation on one side and senior facility or 60+ facility on the other side? Because an RFI gets us one thing, but a building doesn't, a building could be town-owned depending, I mean, the town isn't gonna wanna build an ice rink or a
you
swimming
can
pool.
put the senior, or not this, what's the word?
60+.
60
Active living, 60 plus.
floor, so they don't have to climb stairs, and put the recreation up.
You can do a bunch of different things.
So that's my, I mean, we've sort of been going under the assumption that if there's a building, it would be through the RFI and we need to know, but that's not the only possibility. There could be a building that is,
The town does, but
that the town does, like they
And I
have.
would think that could come through the feasibility study
Yeah.
with the,
Yeah.
with the.
maybe we're stepping it,
Plus, what we can,
maybe we're
that-
stepping it forward. Maybe we don't go that route. We just have to put forward use itself and that relationship.
Wait,
So
we don't go what?
we say we would like to see recreational fields. Maybe our job here is a little easier than we're making it. Pass the baton on to select board, figure out
yeah,
how do you make that happen?
although part of our mandate is to look at RFIs, so that
Is
would be.
it to look at our fields?
Yeah.
Well, if it's determined, but that's my question. Have we just gone to the assumption that if there's a building, it can't be built by the town?
No, we haven't.
I'm not assuming anything. No one's assuming anything.
Not. I only brought this up because I just want to make sure Jim Sullivan is the only person we want to hear from.
No, and I agree, I agree.
If there's somebody that wants to, if there's somebody that's appropriate to come in and talk about stuff that would go into a senior center, then we want to hear from that. Maybe not, I don't know.
And maybe Jim can provide that, because he said that he had worked in,
Yeah, he's worked in one of these
he's worked in one of these things.
facilities in Raleigh.
Right.
So he might have some insight on that too, about.
And I think, as, depending on the size of the building, which we don't know yet, and how many stories, it could or could not be, we don't know yet. we know what our zoning bylaws allow, right? So we know that. So let's say we go to the max of multiple floors, right? And then whether it's in the RFI or not, you can indicate, okay, of this, very random number, 50,000 square foot building, 10,000 square feet, we get to decide what it is. That's just an example. You get 40,000 square feet of what you want and what we want, the 10,000, we're gonna decide what is gonna go in that 10,000 square feet. But you're building the building. It's just an example, right? Or it could be, you're building the building, right? It's all yours with what our needs and wants of the town. And the kickback is, you're doing a lit field over here. You're doing a dog park. You're doing trails. You're doing whatever as part of us letting you do this building, right? I know, well, no, you know, but like, you know, Market Street in Linfield, right? I don't remember exactly what the developer gave, but the city, the town of Linfield got either fields or lit fields from that developer as part of the deal. That's what I'm saying, right? Not kickback.
We had first, right?
Well, yeah, there's, other than recreation, I don't see, if the feasibility study wasn't in the process, I would agree with Chuck. We should have, whether it's council on aging, if we count it in six or whatever, or Jenna representing.
Right, I was thinking of doing that.
What? I can talk to Fidel about it, but I think my opinion would be Jim Sullivan's fine.
Or a combination of Jim and Jenna.
Yeah.
Because Jenna was pretty vocal last
So let's
night.
have Jenna,
Yeah, I think.
with Jim and
Both
Jenna
of them.
together.
Yeah.
We'll invite them both, and hopefully one or both can make it.
Because she was pretty vocal last night about the senior aspect. of it.
Yeah,
It would be good to have Jenna.
Right.
I would like, it would be great to have them both, because he has that experience working in.
Yeah, let's hope they're on vacation, and we'll invite them.
We can work around there.
So you asked about Wellesley. It's-
Are you looking at the same thing?
Yeah, that's impressive.
What's the name?
Called the Boston Sports Institute,
Okay,
It
yeah,
looks like it's also run by the Edge Group.
the Edge.
yes, that's
Edge of
Edge,
the town of Wellesley.
yes.
Yeah, brought the land to the table. Edge responded to and supported the RFP and negotiated a 50-year land lease.
Wow,
And then they took
Sounds
control
like
of
perfect.
construction and future operation out of the hands of the town. And it's got preferred ice and pool town. So it's a huge facility, 130,000.
Where is it?
Yeah, it's on
Nine?
Route 9.
900.
Yeah, it's on Route 9, so, I mean, it's,
And the address is 900 Washington Street.
Where's
which
the
is
street?
right next to Route 9. What's that?
So that would be like,
Worcester Street is Route 9,
that would be what the
Worcester Street is Route 9.
industrial aspect of Wellesley. I mean,
Yeah, right.
the big houses aren't here.
No, right.
No, right,
Right.
no.
And the lease is with it's an LLC called Wellesley Sports Group, but the operators there are the Boston Sports Institute and the Edge Group.
Yeah. yeah, this is very impressive. Yeah,
Very impressive.
but again, they had very specific needs of what they wanted, so they went out looking for
Pool time. ice
pool time and ice time, because they didn't have pool
Does
or
it have
ice.
a rink there?
Yeah, it's two rinks,
Yeah.
yeah.
Indoor pool, 2 indoor.
But
pools.
until then, the high school swim and hockey team were renting from like local colleges. So that was their priority.
Yeah,
That
I
was the
saw
town's
they,
priority.
they were spending $500,000 in ice time.
Yeah, so that was their priority to get
That-
something.
that's Been absorbed in this. now.
That's,
Yeah.
yeah. All right, so I think we're all in agreement to invite Jim Sullivan and Jenna to the next meeting. And I will send Fidel a message to send a message to them, or I can do it myself and see if they're available. And if they're not, I guess then we'll just send a message to all of us to see if the majority of us can accommodate.
Next day.
July 24th.
Oh, some of them.
Monday, July.
Yeah, 24th. So I will make that request and through that lands, I'll get an update on the feasibility study. You know, if the RFP was even issued for that. And then that can be communicated by Fidel. So, all that stuff. And but you know, I can send a message. And that gets us the minutes. Say the date.
May 30th, 2023. Second.
Any discussion? Any friendly amendments or anything? We're good? All right, all those in favor? All right, 7-0, Jackie. And we already have our next meeting date. What do we want to discuss? So obviously, we're gonna carry over definitely 2 on our current agenda. Review requests for information from Wells, blah, blah, blah. And then I guess we'll just keep 3 because it's discuss and vote. We don't have to vote, just discuss. It depends how the meeting goes. So I think for me, those 2 items, we don't need any more than that, right?
Yeah.
So that will be fine. And
we'll have the minutes.
I don't think we want to set an August date yet, do we? No. We need to.
I think one of the next meetings after this last meeting is gonna be on grants, so we'll need to find out when. I'm assuming the town economic.
Diane Cares, I think, is
Yeah.
working with Jenna on the big Birch Meadow one. Is that what they said? I think that's what she
I
said.
just had to know what grants are out there.
That's-
We have to do some due diligence. That was part of our charge.
Yeah, that's,
One of the things I'll just to add to the list is the state side, basically it's state land and water conservation fund grants. 50% match for things like parks. And recreation. So it's an available thing. That is, it's eligibility for that pot of money that sets the requirements for towns to have an open space.
What is this?
tying into that, Carlo, is there any movement from the select board with the CPA? Because this would have, is it too late? Is anybody talking about that?
Not in any detail. We're talking about it, but not in any detail.
Do you think there's any taste for it?
I think there is, but I think our next meeting. And June 20th, we have to do it. I'm not sure we have to do it. We're strongly encouraged to do it because the town, especially if we go to a tiered system, the town is gonna prepare for that. Right, and get all that in place. Even though the bills wouldn't be going to affect till like September bill. But, and that's not gonna be the whole meeting, of course, but I think the CPA.
Does the CPA have to go to town meeting and
It does.
Oh, yeah,
does that also have a referendum, like a town-wide vote or?
You have to vote.
No,
I don't know, I mean, an
we've
election,
been talking about CPA for 20
For
years.
so many
Well, we
years.
had a vote on that once, and it just blows, I know. But it's just so sad because this would have been a perfect project to put money.
Yeah.
So many things, this kind of project, Birch Meadow, because it can go for recreation. When the, it was killing me when the Congregational Church had to rebuild their steeple, that could have gone to it, affordable housing.
Any discussion?
Affordable housing, cultural and historic preservation, and recreation.
So
We're missing out on a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
did we have a motion to adjourn?
No.
We just did minutes.
Yeah. we
Oh,
did.
that was for the minute.
Yeah, that was the minutes, so motion to adjourn,
Yeah.
second? All right, all in favor? All right.
Thank you. Next door.
10 minutes longer than recreation was.
I